Okay, hello and good morning, everyone. My name's Sugi Yamagawa, and today on VTubing my slow life hobbies in my 30s, we're brewing beer. And I'm also trying to get a little ahead of the bus here, but also just sorry about the seemingly late start. I scheduled stream for... I put it on my schedule at 10:30, but when I made the waiting room, I somehow put 10 a.m., so sorry for the seemingly slight delay. So, I've already got water going into my kettle right now. I have the burner going already. Trying to make this a reasonably quick day. For those who haven't seen, I am still on call today. So, yeah, I stream might end abruptly. I certainly hope not. The calls have been like non-existent this week so far, and I hope my luck holds out. Well, that's not wood, but my shelf is made of wood. I can knock that, but that rocks the camera. But yeah. Okay, we're almost at 6 gallons here of water. So this is going to be our strike water for when we get into the mash. And cuts of doodles. Yay. Go live over there. Okay. So, I'd like to do these beer brewing streams about once a quarter. Which means I'm actually really overdue because last one was December. So, yeah. But yeah, this is so. And then also, like, another reason why I like doing these like type of streams is because it's a good exercise in my yap muscles, because once we get this mash going with our malt, yeah, we're gonna be waiting a little while. And by like a little while, I mean like an hour during that part of the process. But yeah, I might also be a little scatterbrained, but just bear with me. But yeah. But so far, I'm having a good morning, and I hope all of you are having a good morning. I have some nice ice-cold tea, and eventually at some point, I'll probably pull off some of this water to make some more tea as well. But yeah, we're going to be making Kolsch. And for those who are unfamiliar with Kolsch, Kolsch is... It's a light beer, and one of the unique things about Kolsch is it is typically a lot of your lighter style of beers, like lagers, pilsners, light beers like that. They are typically fermented with a lager style yeast, which ferments at the bottom of the brewing vessel, whereas Kolsch is actually top fermenting. It ferments at, like, the yeast does their work towards the top of the beer in the fermenter, a lot like an ale. So Kolsch is a really interesting beer style because it's kind of like an in-between style between like your traditional lagers and your ales, which, depending on your level of knowledge with beer, lagers and ales are like the two main categories of beer. Sort of like if you get like into like botany, one of your two main categories of plants are monocots and dicots. But we're not talking about plants today. We're actually gonna be... I will be talking about plants on Thursday though. But and we are kind of working with plants. I mean, malt is the seed of... I mean, we got some malted... primarily malted barley with a little bit of wheat in it. I can grab my notes. So, and the notes are very terribly... That's actually not too bad. But yeah, this is... So, so this is basically what like a standard beer recipe looks like. So, you have your 3 main ingredients: malt, hops, and yeast. Also, the other, and also still very important ingredient, water. Water, hops, yeast and malt make beer. But yeah, so for the malt section, we have 9 3/4 pound of Pilsner. We have a half pound of red wheat. Now, the thing with the red wheat is, traditionally this recipe calls for white wheat. However, though, my local homebrew store was out of white wheat malt because a local microbrewery stopped by and bought out all their white wheat supply. So they only had red wheat, which it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's going to be slightly darker in terms of Levibon, but past that, it's going to give us the same characteristics that we want in our beer. So one of the primary reasons you want to have some wheat malt in your beer is wheat malt will contribute a lot of additional protein. And what protein does is that gives you like the head on the beer, like the foamy part. It gives you that. Helps do with that. And protein also helps contribute to the body, which is kind of like the mouthfeel. So if a beer has body to it, it kind of feels a bit like a more substantial beverage. On one side of the spectrum, it can just taste downright watery. On the other side of the spectrum, it can be like drinking a can of bread. Me personally, I prefer to be like I kind of prefer to be on the lighter side. I want there to be like some body to the beers I enjoy. But I don't want it to be too watery, but I also want it to feel like it's got some like substance to it. Is basically what I'm going. But yeah. And then we have a half pound of Vienna malt, and then we have a 1/4 pound of, as if I don't directly look at this, I will mess up the pronunciation, and that is acidulated, which that's just a type of malt that lowers the pH a little bit and just kind of helps out like the various chemistry that goes on when you're malting. It's actually been a while since I've read my beer brewing books, but because this is my 58th brew, I've brewed quite a few batches of beer, and I know if I do certain things in a certain order, I get beer. And if I'm good with my cleaning and my sanitizing and I get good ingredients and I treat those ingredients with respect, I'm gonna have good beer. Beer brewing is very simple. This is a very simple thing, but it is also a thing that requires patience, as some of you might find out, and also me. So, yeah. So, right now, I've got the burner running. I've got a whole bunch of water in here, and I've got a thermometer right here. This little circle thing. It's actually got like a probe, which just out of camera view, but that little probe is telling me the temperature of this water. So we're basically heating up the water to do what's called the mashing. And mashing in is basically where you combine your water with your malt, and you do the mash process, which you basically let your water and your malt sit together for a while, typically an hour. The purpose of mashing is to have so there's enzymes in the malt. Malt is seeds. It's supposed to be the next generation of plant. It's not going to become the next generation of plant because it's going to become beer. So it has a whole bunch of stored energy in it that's supposed to feed the young plant. That stored energy is stored in the form of starch, which is edible, but not what we want, because for our yeast want sugar. They want the sweet stuff, and they don't want starch. So we're going to convert the starch into sugar with mashing, which is the purpose of that. And that will enable all the sugars to get freed up in the malt, and then we'll mash out. Then we'll have at this point it's called our wort. It's basically the beer before you throw yeast into it. Then we're going to boil the wort for an hour. And we're going to add hops during the wort boil. And then after the wort boil is done, we'll cool the whole mixture down, get it to a reasonable temperature. We'll throw our yeast in. Well, we'll actually pull it out into a fermenter that's off screen. But, well, a fermenter will eventually show up. Darn, I don't have a 5-gallon bucket. I don't have an empty 5-gallon bucket. Okay, so at some point I gotta go grab a 5-gallon bucket. Reasons, but yeah, once we take our wort, once our cooled wort is done boiling, we'll put it into a fermenter. It'll be here. This is a mash tun. That's what this is. Cooler. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we actually get into mashing, because as you can see, we are starting to get some pretty good bubble action going on here at the kettle. And yeah, so we should be getting close to the point where, well, yeah, we're at like 110 degrees Fahrenheit, so we're within like 50 degrees of our target for the mashing. Because when you do the mashing, your ideal temperature depends on the style of beer. So, for stouts, porters, heavier beers, barley wines, you will want a higher mash temperature. Over 150 degrees Fahrenheit, perhaps a little bit more than that, but no more than 160. You don't want to go past 160. Which, if I look at my thermometer, so let's see, 160 Fahrenheit. Yeah, you don't want to go up. You want to be like around like 70 degrees centigrade. Whereas when you're trying to brew a Kolsch, like what we're doing here today, we're going to want our mash to just be a little bit over 60 degrees centigrade. Wait, or, well, probably, honestly, like 61 and a half degrees Celsius. Be really good for a Kolsch. Whereas in Fahrenheit, the units I'm used to, the ideal temperature is going to be like 142, 144, that ballpark. We just want to be like between 140 and 145. Just somewhere in there. It'll be perfect for that. So, I'm going to let this get to about 160. And that's already getting warm enough to the point where I can't keep my hands on it. So, take this off. And now I'm going to get my malt into my mash tun. But yeah. And also, fair warning, this malt, it is, I mean, it's also basically kind of like a precursor to flour, so you tend to get a lot of, dust. A lot of dust off this. And I just give it a nice good shake, because I actually keep these trash bags to reuse. Because, remember folks, reduce, reuse, recycle. Recycling is not the best thing to do. The best thing to do is to consume less. The next best thing after that is to reuse. And then after that, then you can think about recycling. So, I always like to think if I take a single-use plastic like this and get 2 uses out of it, I'm doing a pretty good job. Or at least I am reducing my consumption of plastic, which reduces the need to generate more plastic, which hopefully in the grand scheme of things will reduce the amount of plastic in the world, which is a good thing, I think, considering how there's very scary studies I've been reading recently on like microplastics in the human body, and it's like, oh boy, I hope this doesn't turn out to be like some like super like health thing once we like have like more time in like a little bit more understanding of the health effects on the human body. But yeah, so those coughs just now reminded me that I am also recovering from some ick, so I'm probably going to lower the cadence of my speaking, simply due to the fact that I want to make sure I don't overexert myself. But I'm optimistic I'll be fine for like today. I do have plenty of cough drops, so okay, so we're at 130. Well, over 130 Fahrenheit, so you're gonna definitely be getting close. So I want to make sure I have all the utensils I need for the next step. So primary gonna be my my stir stick and my thermometer. Thermometer is gonna go into the mash tun, and that's going to tell me the temperature of the mash tun, so that way I can monitor it and make sure everything's good. I used to have like a meat thermometer. I got really inconsistent results with it. So I eventually abandoned it and just went with the good old traditional thermometer for monitoring. Because when I mash in, I'll be like checking it probably like every 5 minutes. Well, the first 3 5-minute periods. So like the first 15 minutes, I'll like check it 3 times to make sure I have a good temperature for it. So, but yeah, I hope all of you all are having a good day out there. My day's been going pretty good so far. Got a little bit of reading done this morning. Got my laundry started. So it's definitely going to be a good day. Very optimistic. Really happy with how last night's meal turned out. Oh, man. Definitely. So, like, if you ever make, like, gyudon at home, always make sure you have some pickled red ginger. Like, that stuff, like... Because when I made it back in December with actual beef, it was good, but it wasn't, like, good. I mean, I garnished it with green onions, which was fine. It was reasonably enjoyable, but it wasn't like the level that the pickled red ginger brought to it. That was like next level. Okay. So, I know my equipment, and I need to do a thing. So, I end up with like a little bit of like, stuff in my valve down here, and this is pretty much stuff that gets in there like every time I brew, so I just like to run just a hair bit of water out, and then I can just take this and just sure, we'll get rid of it. I check again. You can see that the water's nice and clean, so that means my ball valve down here, that's nice and clean. It's not like a super critical thing to do, but it's just a nice thing, because sometimes I get a little surprised when I crack this open for the first time to send out my strike water into the mash tun, and there's like this like slug of ick going into the mash tun, which is mostly just hops that just get stuck in the ball valve and just kind of sit there while I'm not using this. But ooh, what we got? Okay, so we're at 150 here, so we're really close. So I'm just gonna give this probably 2-3 minutes, and then we'll mash in. And then once we mash in, then we can do some... That'll be the first fun thing, but also But that will also trigger the next event, and that is this is going to be the slowest thing I do today, so whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's brewing. Brewing is a process, but it's not a difficult process by any means. It's like anything else. Take your time, do it right, and you'll be good. I know, like, the Homebrewers Association, they like to talk about brewing in, like, if you can follow the instructions on the back of a box of macaroni and cheese, you can brew beer. So, there's also other ways to brew beer. This method, what I am doing here today, is called all grain, which basically means all my sugar is coming from my grain. Whereas you can actually buy canisters, like yay-ish size canisters. Even though I know my hands don't make for like the best like size comparison on anything, but you can actually buy liquid malt extract, and you can use that in your brew, and you can basically skip the malting process altogether. So if you're like a busy person who's got a lot of stuff going on in their life, and you don't got time to do malting, well, do the mashing process, you can skip it. It's just going the all grain route. It's cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. Okay. I am reasonably optimistic about this. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start mashing in. So, I'm gonna be using my stir stick to kind of break up the water stream a little bit, because I'm using water that's warmer than my target temperature. Right now, this water temperature is around 160. My target temperature is a little bit over 140. The reason why I use warmer water is my mash tun is cold, and my cold by room temperature standards. And I need to get the stuff that's at room temperature all the way up to my 140. So this needs to be a little bit warmer than where I want to be here. So you just kind of want to like break up the water stream a little bit, just because you don't want like really warm water hitting the malt, especially when you're like first like striking in with your water. Because if your water's a little bit too warm, it will actually deactivate the enzymes in the malt that convert the starch into sugar. A little bit careful about that. Okay. Oh. My malt porridge is... I don't have quite enough water to make it super stirrable. We're gonna go ahead and throw a little bit more in. So, first two additions of water, I do 1 gallon sessions. I know that I know the amount based off the tick marks on the side of my brew kettle. So I started out with 6 gallons, watch it go down to 5, and now I'm gonna watch this and watch it go down to 4, and that knows and then I know I have 2 gallons of water in here. And the water level is actually starting to fill up over the malt. So, 4. And granted, that's also getting warmer. So, really important to stir at this point. Because what you're trying to do is sometimes the malt will form what's called a dough ball, where it just kind of like clumps together, and it's kind of like a dirt clog. What happens when you get a dough ball, the water doesn't get to all the malt in the center of that dough ball. And the malt in the center of that dough ball is not going to add sugar to your work. That's an undesirable outcome. Still pretty thick. Grab my thermometer. Bloop. Hit this with a ½ gallon of water. And we're also going to keep... At some point here soon, I'm going to turn off the propane burner. Just so that way my strike water here doesn't get... Granted, I am going to want some of this hot water for some other things, like tea, and then I'm also going to put a little bit of hot water in here at some point. Ooh, steamy. We're going to give this a nice stir. This is also one of the nice things about this thermometer, is it's very sturdy. I've done some aggressive stirring, and thankfully I've avoided having mercury in my beer. Oh. Nice back-to-backs. I also like to do some nice up and downs. Make sure that there's nothing like solid towards the end, because I do have like a filter strainer at the bottom of this. And that's going to be useful when we mash out. Give this a really good stir. That. I'm going to let sit. Let sit uncovered for a little bit, and we'll see what the temperature is here in like a minute or two. And okay, my body's sending me signals that it wants to sneeze here soon, and hasn't given me the sneeze yet. So I'm going to be on my guard for that. Meantime, this ready. Actually, I need to grab some gloves. So one moment. Glove acquired. Well, actually, glove. There we go. So I've got a little bit of water in here. Oh, this is very warm water. Very warm water. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to let it chill to room temperature, and I'm going to rehydrate my yeast with this later. So I need to take my gloves off, and I need to grab some aluminum foil. I got way too... This is way too much aluminum. But yeah, all I need is a square. Like yay much. I just give it a nice squeeze, and that just... There we go. There we go. That's better. That's better. And then what that's going to do is it's going to keep, basically, and kind of create a sealed environment. And that's going to keep any, like, bugaboos out of that. Because I want zero other critters in this water for now. Well, that's why I just use boiling water. But eventually, yeast are going to go in there, and they are going to... It's going to be used to wake them up. I'll yap a bit more about that later. I have to put this up. Okay, so let's go ahead and check our thermometer. Oh, wow. Okay, so we're we're actually toasting. That's actually boiling a lot, so I'm going to turn my... my mash temperature is actually high. Fine. Because what I can do is I can just give it a stir. As you can see, I'm starting to get some steam out. That means I'm losing heat. So I'm just going to give it a stir, let it sit, evaluate where the temperature is. Because sometimes when you mash in, you'll have like warm and cold spots. So that's why if I look at my first temperature and it looks high, I'll stir and I'll let it sit. And if I was in a hot spot, then my temperature should come down quite a bit. Versus if I stir and it only goes down a little bit, then I need to chill it, which I can do with just adding some like tap water. But yeah, it's just a thing where you just gotta like just kind of like you're kind of sort of getting like finicky with it, but you're just like slowly adjusting the temperature to get it to where you ideally want the temperature to be for the beer you're brewing. Which I have really hot water right now, and I have some tea not being made into tea. There we go. He's a little. There we go. Hey! Be doing more than brewing beer today for chat. Also gonna be making tea. But that's also one of the fun things about doing this. You can also make tea. Yeah, I am gonna have to at some point go searching for a 5-gallon bucket. Eventually, we're gonna take this. Eventually, we're gonna get our we're gonna mash out later. Get to that point, but eventually, I'm gonna have to clean this out. And I don't think I have any readily available containers because I filled up a whole bunch of containers with soil from the potato planting stream, primarily, so that way I could have less soil in my containers while my potatoes are just getting started, which I have yet to get any of my potatoes like hot. But yeah, they've yet to break soil surface, but hey, I'm sure it's going to take a minute. So stirred it, gave it a little bit of time to settle. Let's see what we get. Oh. Ooh. Okay. Temperature. Well. How well I can. Temperature gone. But we are below 150, but we're above 140. I think we're a little bit on the. So, since we are just a little bit warm, and by a little bit, by like a couple of degrees, give this a nice good stir, and I'm going to continue to let it mash with the lid off. So that way the heat kind of like dissipates a little bit. I think we'll just let it go like a solid like 5 minutes. Check it and go from there. So yeah, welcome to the boring part of brewing. This is the part where if I'm doing this I'm just hanging out at the shop, whatever. This is the part where traditionally what I would do is I would like go and like get food. Is usually what I would do at this point. Oh, morning, buddy. I'm gonna be busy today being an uncle, but I'm here at least. Okay, well, welcome in, good guy. Good to hear you're having a good morning, and thank you for the morning. I actually have just a little bit of this tea left. I've got tea going. Got the mash going. But yeah, it's a good day. It is a good day to be alive. As any day, really. But I would say today especially, more so. Okay. That's killed off. Trash can. Oh, yeah. Oh, let's see. We're gonna let this sit. We're gonna let the mash sit. What style are we making today? Sir, good sir. Today's style is Kolsch. Personal favorite of both you and me. Granted, I'm not putting strawberries in it. You'll have to rely on your standard source for strawberry Kolsch, but yeah, today's gonna be Kolsch. But yeah, I was debating styles, and I was like, I really want to try Best Morning. I mean, I don't know how I feel about like drinking beer in the morning, but brewing beer in the morning, yeah, it's a good morning. I've gotten a couple chores done, got some reading done, all those good things. So it's a good day with good momentum, and I'm sure it's gonna get even better. I presume. I don't know. Granted, we do got some like pretty serious storms coming. Hope don't ruin crops too much. But we did get a nice rain last night. Oh, which was nice because that meant everything got nice and watered because my location on the rotation's been seeing some kind of warmish temperatures the past few days. So it was real nice to actually get some like a good proper rain and to like cool everything off, all that good stuff. Oh. Let's see, I probably still got some time on that. Now, got some rain coming in later too. I hope it knocks down some of the pollen. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. Yeah, we do have lots of pollen. Granted, the pollen recently hasn't been messing with me too much. But I think it's also because of like, I don't know, it's hard to tell because at one point I was dealing with like ick earlier this week, but now I'm definitely on the mend. Definitely doing a lot better. Oh. I was actually wanting to look up some like facts about Kolsch, and then I was prepping and I realized I set the waiting room time for the wrong time, and I was like, oh man, I better like get on with. Yeah, I had the ick too. Yeah. Well, I hope you're feeling better. I mean, I'm feeling better. I've gotten to the point where I'm pretty much nearly recovered, but I'm just not at. I just can't say that I'm at 100% just yet. But I'm definitely like past 80. Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. Let's see. Exceedingly so. Great. Do I just have like a little water? Need a little bit of water. A little bit of water. Fill that out. There we go. And chill that out. Good thing too, because you know trip coming up. Yeah. I mean, that's honestly probably like the best thing is being like getting it over with, and then it's like, yeah, trip, fun. But yeah. And also just heads up everyone, I will only be doing one stream next week because of trip. But I did take a little bit additional time off work past trip because I'm going to be gone like Friday through Wednesday. And then when I get back, I'm going to have Thursday as a free day. And then I plan to do a stream Friday and Saturday. Is the game plan for now. As long as nothing crazy turns up, but see. What's my... Oh, wow. Okay, strange. Temperature went way down on my mash. I'm gonna let that sit for a little while. If it seems like it's gonna... stir it. I don't know if I had a cold spot or not. Well, I'm gonna give this a stir, and I'm gonna let it sit for just a little while. And I'm gonna see where the temperature comes in. Now, when you're mashing, it is always better to be too cool versus too hot. Because if you're at like 130, it's easy to raise it up. I mean, this water right here is probably at like a solid 180. So a little bit of extra warm hot water, bring it right up, no big deal. Just if you go too warm, you'll denature the enzymes in the malt that convert the starch to sugar, and then you're gonna have less enzymes to do their job, and you're just gonna get less sugar out of your malt. So that's like the thing you gotta be like careful about. So they're not too cold, but just updates. Yeah, it's a oh. Add a little bit of water. By a little bit, I kind of truly mean that much. Then I'm going to stir it to evenly distribute the heat. Ability. And then gets capped. And we'll let this sit for a while. Probably, let's see. Probably I'll do 4 minutes, and then I'll check it and I'll see where I'm at. So this is one of the fun things with mashing. Sometimes this is kind of the reason why it's real important to stir. Sometimes you think you're a little too warm, then you check it a little while later, and then you're cold. But I had 2 cold readings back to back, so I went ahead, threw some additional hot water in there, and to bump it up a little bit. Because really, I was at like 135, and I just wanna get it like up and over 140. Oh yeah, I've been watching a Rome Total War playthrough at night and thought of you. Why are you watching a Rome Total War playthrough? Seems like a weird thing for you to watch. Oh yeah, you've been saying you want to get into like RTS or like strategy games. I mean, you would like Rome Total War because it's turn-based, so it's more chill. It's more chill versus like it's more chill. Turn-based is definitely better if you like a more chill experience. I don't know. I don't know. Oh no. He just started watching something and was like, yeah, I'm gonna... Oh no, the algorithm got him. That's probably what happened. Video got recommended. But you're right, I do want to try more RTSs. Woo! Well, if you want to play anytime, let me know. I'm always down for stuff I've got, or... I mean, shucks, if you even... Oh no, I just looked it up. Okay. But yeah, Rome Total War is not too bad. Especially as long as you don't, like, play at the higher difficulty settings. And I was like, why? Why do I like this? Because it's fun. It's like... My favorite thing about Rome Total War is... It's got battles, but it's also got, like, city management. Which... As someone who is... spent a lot of his early gaming life doing city sims, it is fun to just like decide how I want to like build out the city, and then how I build out the city depends on what guys I get, and then what guys I get depends on like how good I can smash the enemy. Better guys, better smashing. And it's always fun to have like really good guys who can smash really good. Especially if you're like playing like one of the Roman factions or one of the Hellenic factions. I think that's the word. The Hellenic factions being like the Greek factions. But yeah, smashing barbarians with civilization is always fun. It's always real enjoyable. The tea's really starting to get close to the point where it's actually but yeah, we just got a little bit while longer, and I will check on the mash tun, and I'll see what we're doing here. Granted, all this time that I've spent trying to dial this in, this actually does count towards the 1 hour mark. So, because we were a little bit warm, we were getting some good starch sugar action, but then it cooled down. Hopefully we're bringing it up. So let's see what we got. Oh, old. Huh. I'm just gonna let the thermometer sit separate area for 1 minute. I don't know exactly what's going on. Should have bumped that little bit of water should have been enough to bump the temperature up a little bit, but it didn't. So, just gonna be, I'm gonna just kind of check a different area of the mash. We'll see what that comes in at. Okay, that's enough waiting. And that is actually just over. That last temperature reading just now was perfect. Like 142. So we are really, really, really close with our mash temperature. I'm just gonna let that sit for another probably like 3-ish minutes, whatever, and then I'll check it and we'll see. There. Woo, okay. But yeah. This should cool down. Good for yeast. Be having a little bit of, I really feel like for some of these streams I should like prepare like something smaller to do, but I don't have anything smaller to do. Oh. Good, I checked up on my adult responsibilities and no adult responsibilities decided to show up. So far so good on that. Yeah. But yeah. This chat is mashing. It is. We are literally watching Porridge do Porridge things. But eventually I will be adding a little water to here. We'll actually bring this up to a proper boil. But that's when we actually get closer to like mashing out. Not quite there yet at this point, but we will be getting there though. Just the thing is right now, everything is a waiting game. Because of, yeah, it's a process and how processes do. But yeah, I don't know if I've got like, I probably should have also like maybe prepared a few more things to yap about, but I didn't. I mostly did chores this morning, I read, I did chores, and then I was like, okay, let's start getting ready for stream. And then I eventually found out that I had my waiting room time set wrong, and I was like, whoops. Didn't disappoint anyone. That actually happened once. Don't want to have a repeat of that. Really do not wish to have a repeat of that experience. But yeah. And then also, and actually, I do have 2 beers available in my fridge, and one is actually actually no, I have the Vienna Lager, because my most recent batch of beer, I brewed that at the beginning of this month, which is my English Golden Ale, and that's not 100% ready yet. So, still waiting on that one to be ready, but eventually I'll have that beer ready, and probably will be seeing it on another campfire cooking stream. Which actually will be ready in time for the next one. Yeah, it will actually be ready in time for the next one. Which next campfire cooking stream will be cooking. Well, I'll actually be making like it's going to be kind of like beef stew. I will not be using beef. I will actually be using venison for that. And that will use up the remaining amount of venison I have, which, yay. Ingredients used, consumed, good. And now I don't have to worry about the stuff going bad in my freezer anymore. How did the deer turn out? Deer turned out good. It was real good. The deer was perhaps a little bit chewy, but deer's a really lean red meat, so I mean, because I did after I made like the first like bowl of gyudon, because I basically had it I kind of had it like boiling, sort of like a stew, kind of, just not as like heavily seasoned as a stew. I just let it like boil off to a bit, so that way it would kind of like maybe soften up a little bit. But otherwise, it was on point. It was great, amazing. Thank you very much for the deer. It's just, if you're ever making gyudon, you have to have red pickled ginger for the gyudon, because red pickled ginger is just amazing. That's what I like about it. Very lean and good. No problem. But yeah, I mean, it really was because like I did have to like skim some like foam and such off, just because that's like how you're supposed to like cook it. But the way I was doing it, but past that, had just like a little bit of like those fatty oil droplets you'll get. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with seeing them in like pho, in like a pho soup, but there was like just enough to kind of like contribute to the broth in terms of like flavor. And I also gotta say, I really actually liked preparing deer that way, because the way that deer turned out had like no gaminess to it whatsoever, but it did still taste like deer. It still tasted distinctly different from beef or chicken or like any other like meat product, but it wasn't like bad different. It was just like, this is basically beef, but slightly different flavor. I think it wasn't as rich of a flavor, because like beef can be kind of like a stronger, more rich flavor, whereas deer was like a more subtle flavor to it, which on its own was actually quite lovely, which is nice because it actually kind of helped a little bit more of the seasonings come through. Because so that recipe had no measurements with it whatsoever. So I literally just kind of like eyeballed the amount of mirin, ginger paste, What else did I season it with? There's mirin, ginger paste. I know there was other things. 1 or 2 other things. I had notes. Threw away my notes after I made it. I know there was one other thing I added to it. But I forget. But it wasn't like super well seasoned. It like beef, but it won't give you as much heart disease. Dang. Really throwing beef under a bus, man. But honestly, in terms of like the heart disease comment, like it's like anything else, man. It's all moderation. It's all just having not too much, not too little, just a nice right amount. Also another thing that something I personally feel about like a lot of like meat dishes is that meat is a really strong supporting character in the dish. For example, in last night's dish, the venison was a really strong supporting actor. Lead role was the rice. Like, it's a don. Any rice bowl, the rice is the star. If the rice isn't good, dish is not going to be good. So, but the venison being a supporting actor does contribute a lot. Contributes good, most of the protein to the dish, good bit of flavor, but it is also part of a wider supporting cast. I mentioned ginger paste, mentioned mirin. I mean, also water was used. Water kind of doesn't count, but also, well, actually, it played really nicely with its other supporting cast member, onion. So, boiling those seasonings with onion and meat all together in a pot, and then taking a couple scoops of that and dumping it into a big bowl of rice, and then serving it with, once again, another great supporting actor, the red ginger. Then you have a full cast of characters that are all contributing to bringing you a great meal. And that's what I like about... That's what I want out of a meat dish. Meat should not be the only main actor. No. That's just not how that's how you get heart disease. And also, if we're talking about the diet and dangers of having the wrong stuff in your diet, really a lack of fiber is it's a very important thing to get plenty of fiber in your diet. Which, going back to last night's dish, we had onions in there, and we had the ginger in there as well. And I'm also, since I was working with like whole chunks of meat, I'm sure there was just a little bit of fiber in there, but probably not like a whole lot. But yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, I know a few people who could cut down the meat a bit. But yeah, I'm gonna check my mash tun now, because it's been a while. Oh yeah, we're perfect. We are doing wonderful with the mash tun right now. Not worried about that. This is firmly 100%. Not a worry. So, we don't have anything to worry about there. We're getting real close to being halfway through the mashing process right now, so doing really good on that. Still very warm, but this is actually gonna be warm for a while. That's just gonna be warm for a while. Different area on this. Just so that way the heat can continue to dissipate a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like the only reason why I don't have to worry about cutting back on my meat consumption is I generally am not a fan of it. I mean, it's good. there's times I have it and I'm like, this is great, but I just don't eat meat on the reg, so I just don't have to worry about that problem. Granted, I do have to worry about fiber in my diet. Because as much as I like a good salad, it's hard to keep salad greens around for a real long time. At least like from an availability standpoint. So, definitely want to work on having better access to salad greens. Granted, that's going to get better as like the growing season goes on. Because I've got actually probably have close to 2 dozen lettuce plants in my garden right now. So, they're not quite at the point where they're harvestable, but I'm going to definitely be having a lot of greens in my diet coming up here in the next couple of days. Well, next couple of weeks, really. Don't eat nowhere near as much meat as I used to. I feel better nowadays. Yeah. I mean, eating meat's fine. It's just you gotta balance it out with other stuff. You can't just be having like big old steaks. Now, if you want to have like, say, a nice small 4-ounce steak with like a really good kick butt house salad, by all means, go for that. That's gonna be good. Because then you're getting a little bit of the protein, and then if you throw some croutons on that salad, then you get a little bit of carbs. Then you get it much closer to being balanced to meat. It's just there's people who think that food's not... Granted, these are... The people I'm about to describe are the ones that make me most hold my head in my hands. And that's the people who think that a meal is not a meal unless there's like a meat in it. Like you said, the power of fiber is powerful. Yes, fiber is very powerful. And also, like, less than 10% of Americans actually get their daily recommended dose of fiber. And fiber is a really important nutrient for... And the thing is, with fiber, it's good for your GI tract in terms of, like, helping move stuff along. But fiber primarily serves your microbiome, which is all the various, like, microbes that are inside of you, which is actually real important to take care of them. One of the downsides of consuming the beverage I'm making today is alcohol kills microbes, and drinking too much alcohol can do terrible things to your microbiome in your gut. But I am currently in my mid-30s. I get to enjoy alcohol for a little bit longer, because I think as I approach 40 years of age will be when I will be like, okay, the writing has been on the wall. Well, eventually, what has gone from an every weekend drink is probably gonna get cut back to about once a month, similar to what you've been doing. Because I've actually recently been doing better about not consuming as much alcohol during the weekdays, but I really need to like double down on myself. But if I can keep alcohol out of my weekdays and then just have one a month, I don't know. I might start off at like it's great. I mean, honestly, the biggest temptation is from a money saving standpoint. Like, I'd save a lot of money. But also, speaking of actually money saved, Kolsch is so cheap to brew. Like, I think I spent 28 bucks on ingredients for today's brew. You gotta love cheap beer, and actually cheap good beer. And that's the great thing about Kolsch is a really cheap brew to make because it doesn't take a lot of hops. A moment. I look forward to it every time. But yeah. So generally speaking, the recipe just calls for just a little bit, actually just like 1 ounce of these hops, the German Toronto Blanc. But I actually did, admittedly, a slight whoopsie. I have some Cascade hops that I was supposed to throw in my English Golden Ale as a dry hop. Well, I kind of messed up and forgot to add them. So, the last time I used these hops, I had an alpha acid of 10.2%. So, if you look, barely see the alpha acid right there, but it's at 7.9. So, these are at 7.9. Alpha acids are the ingredient in the hop that gets you a lot of bitterness. So to kind of get my bitterness a bit closer to what my last batch of Kolsch was, I'm going to be adding a little extra Cascade. And I'm just doing this today simply because these hops are a little bit... This batch is a little bit weaker on the alpha acids versus last time that I made this. So I'm just going to supplement it with a little bit of Cascade, and it should be great. Should be great. Lovely tea. Lovely tea. Oh yeah. We are now 40 minutes into the mash. So we got 20 minutes left. But we're gonna eventually, every time I hear the word Cascade, my fear of the oh, come on, Cascade's not even the scary thing. That's not the scary thing. Granted, the funny thing is, so, the funny thing about the farming game, it's actually set in the part of the nation where hops are grown. Cascade the hops are actually named after the Cascade Mountains. I know, but it's still... Dude, you at least did not have to endure the time loop that our friend Brian had to endure when he played. Granted, it's funny when he comes over to the house like later this week. I'm gonna just show him the game just so that way I can enjoy the look on his face. Because he hit. Because one time when we played, he hit the go back to the second week of January spot like 4 or 5 times. Hurt your back, go back, yep. And he hit it like 4 times. Like he just got like stuck in a time loop within the game. By like the 3rd or 4th time he hit the spot, he was just like, what's going on? Like the rest of us are just going around the board playing the game, and he's just like stun locked on one side of the board. On one hand, I'm sad that he didn't have the best experience with that game, but that was also a very funny memory, so it's like, man, I want people to like the games I like, but also at the same time, that was real funny. Okay. I'm gonna want to add more water to this. So I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Not really gonna add a lot. I'll probably just get this up to like 3.5 gallon. Because we've put at least 3 gallons of water into the mash tun. And we're going to want 5 gallons of wort. We actually want a little bit more. Because I typically lose... Because when we do like the whole wort boil, I typically lose like half a gallon of liquid volume just to water boiling out. Like me and Damaku, we just don't get along. Oh man, it would be fun to bring Damaku on the trip. Okay. Oh, this is my fermenter here. And we're gonna fill this up to 2.5 gallons of water. Please no. I mean, I'm not really too concerned about actually bringing any games simply because of we are gonna be we're gonna be like go, go, go. And then when we get back to the hotel, we're just gonna crash. I'm sure. So I'm not worried about bringing like additional entertainment. I don't need entertainment for the trip. Well, for like the ride, because I gotta operate a motor vehicle and all that stuff. That's my 2.5 gallon mark. And got 2 gallons of water. That's close enough. I think I'll bring my camera. Ooh, okay. Wait, we got like right on the money. So, what this is going to be used for? This here is going to be, and take some video. Ooh, nice. Yeah. What this water is going to be used for is my sanitizing solution. So this is Star Sand is a what's called a contact sanitizer. So I'll be using the Star Sand. Well, yeah, I'll be using the Star Sand to disinfect my fermenter and also disinfect all my tools and a couple different other things when we actually get to the like cold side of the brewing process. Because right now, we're still on what's called the hot side. So we're boiling things and we're going to disinfect everything with boiling, with heat. Get to the cold side, gotta be a little bit more careful about our practices, our handling of the ingredients and all that stuff. Oh. That's what this is going to be for. Oh. And to make up our Iser, I'm going to need a 1/2 ounce of Star Sand. A 1/2 ounce of this to 2.5 gallons of water. And we'll just go ahead and get that made up. Because there'll be times where I get like really excited about stuff and I'll just get really into things. And then I forget to make the sanitizer at like the last minute. And it's always like, oh no, I gotta do this. Like, I have to do this now. Type of thing. So I'm gonna use my handy dandy stirring stick, stir this up. As you can see, it foams. It's very bubbly. But also, you do wish to avoid touching this with your hands because it kills things on contact. Granted, it's primarily meant for like killing bacteria. It's just not good to handle ungloved. I don't have rubber gloves for handling this. I just be careful. Perfectly honest. I just make an effort to be careful. Oh, okay. Let's set this off to the side. And here in a little bit. Oh, actually, you know what? I actually need to hit the restroom because of tea. Oh, I'm gonna throw the beer. Actually, I need to use the restroom, and I need to find a 5-gallon bucket. I'm gonna throw on the BRB screen, and I'll be right back. And I'm back. And I've acquired a 5-gallon bucket. Purpose of this 5-gallon bucket is for me to have a bucket to empty my mash tun into. Because once I have my spent grains, I'm going to take them out into the yard, and turn them into compost. But yeah, I normally have spare buckets, but I've been filling my spare buckets with sawdust, kindling for fire pit, and soil. And I need to get to a point where I start emptying some buckets. Or maybe buy some more. I don't know. Maybe buy more 5-gallon buckets. I probably need more 5-gallon buckets in my life. Unfortunately, I am the type of person who needs more 5-gallon buckets in my life. Okay, so I'm also going to go ahead and turn on this. Cooling down. Oh man, my lighter's about done. Damn. We got another one. I'm gonna try this a couple more times before I fill my shop with explosive propane gas, so Hopefully this won't be too... Hopefully we get a good result. And good result acquired. No explosions. Granted, I'm also not terrible. Please don't blow up. I don't want to blow up. I've got beer to finish making, man. I've got beer to finish making. I have tea to consume. Plenty of things in life to live for. Picking up tea. Next tea. Also do an adult responsibility check. And thankfully, I'm also getting close. Did it really cool down that? It did cool down that. Oh, wait, that's because I added water. Oh, man. I have to wait for it to reach tea making temperature. Darn. Oh, well. And we are getting real close to the point. So. Oh, yeah. Mashing is kind of like the boring part. Granted, also, if you're doing this alone and not trying to be like a live entertainer, you can just go do other things. Just typically what I will do if I'm just doing this on my own. Or I'll just like, or who knows, I also will just like throw people up or like other streamers or something. Granted, I do kind of wish there was like more, I would love to like lurk in some, well, I would actually like to just chat with actually another like person as they were like brewing beer. That would be fun. Fortunately, there's not a lot of people doing it. Because not a lot of people doing it, I gotta do it. Or at least it's like my thought process here. Actually, have this. Now I'll just keep the heat in a little bit more. Beer making collab, huh? That would be fun. That'd be real fun. That'd be fun to do a beer making collab with another VTuber. I don't think that'll ever happen, but it'll be fun. It would also just be fun to just like yap with like another VTuber who knows like a lot about beer. I know there's a couple of people out there. I know there's like there's quite a few actually bartending VTubers. Never say never. I mean, you're right. I don't expect it. I really don't expect it. Because I'm like hey, I'm a nobody. That's fine. Being a nobody means it's real easy for me to make mistakes and hide them. And by hide them, do nothing. It's great. Brandon, I think this is going to warm up sooner than I thought. But yeah, we should. I mean, still got quite a bit of work left to do, but I think we're making really good progress. I do like the fact that I was able to get the strike water for the mash going prior to stream. Next beer brewing stream, I will definitely do that again because I really do want to make sure I work hard on that. Well, try to create a smoother experience because this is kind of like the challenge period for me is just finding like stuff to yap about. And oh yeah, and also if anyone didn't see, So for those who don't follow me on the socials, I did finally get the bat box mounted on the side of my house. I didn't mount it as high up as I originally wanted to, primarily because because one, I had to get the extension ladder out. Two, if something bad happens, if I fall off the ladder and I hit my head, yeah, no one's coming for help for days. And that's one of the things when you live by yourself. It's you got to be like kind of aware of that. Granted, I think like the next time I kind of get into like a kind of a sketchy thing I'm doing at the house by myself, I'll probably either I'll probably just send my sister a text and be like, hey, I'm doing something slightly dangerous, and if I don't text you back in 2 hours, please send medical services to my address. Probably what I'm going to do next time that I get into like doing something a little sketchy. Wait. Got that sneeze out. Oh man, I've been waiting for that sneeze. I think I've been waiting for that sneeze for a while. But yeah. I'm hearing some very encouraging noises from here. I'm gonna get me some tea water. I'm close. No, I need just someone to be like, hey, send an ambulance here. Someone might be hurt. Like, I don't need my sister to come over. I just need her to be like, hey, something's bad happened. Tea water! Well, tea. I don't always get so little. Granted, I have a solution for not enough. Top it off. There we go. Schmidt. I mean, if you want, I can let you know the next time I do something slightly dangerous. That makes you feel better. Okay. Oh. You're really close to the end on this. So, I'm going to go ahead and put it on position up here. And, yeah. Oh. It's time to use the big muscles. And that's big muscles used. And I do apologize for the amount of orange on camera. That is an egregious amount of orange. Granted, this can come off. And let's see here. I want to try a thing. That kind of want a bit more of a focus. Here. But yeah, I'm going to be calling the mash done in about 2 minutes. I actually technically need that to be warmer. I need this to be about 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Or to strike the mash. So, one of the reasons you want to strike the mash, well, hit it with strike water, is when you hit it with, when you hit your mash with 180 degree water, it stops the enzymes and it stops the mashing process. So it just basically puts the brakes on that. We're getting really close to putting the brakes. Granted, my brake water is not hot enough yet. Big stretch. Oh. But yeah. And then we'll also work on recirculating the mash, which is fun. Kind of. It's interesting. Well, it's going to be a lot of me using this container and this container. I fill it up, I dump it in. I fill it up, I dump it in. And then I'm just basically I'm doing lots of things with my hands. It is what recirculating the mash ultimately comes down to. And then at some point I'll be adding this water into the mash tun. Because yeah. And let's open up our mash tun. What's my final 10? Oh, nice. 142. I don't know if you guys can see it. But yeah, just a hair bit above 140. That's what we want for this beer. This needs to get warmer. But we can go ahead and get the mash recirculating going. So what this process is about. This process is about we're taking our wort through our mash tun, sending it through. And what we're doing is we're basically preparing our grain bed to be a filter for the mash. Because right now, if I were to just take this wort and throw it into my kettle and fire up the kettle, well, my beer would have a whole lot of debris in it. That is an undesirable characteristic. We don't want a whole bunch of debris. We kind of want to have, like, you know, a nice clear beer, you know, whatever. So, I'm actually going to drop this. Pull it out. And to give you guys a look. Now, it's really hard to show you guys the floaties. But as you can see, there's like actually like little bits of grain, like little chunks of grain and such. We don't want that in the final beer product. So, we're gonna just be recirculating. We're gonna be like throwing stuff around. This water's getting warm enough. So while this container is filling, I'm going to take my secondary container. And then I'm going to start adding strike water to the mash tun. And the strike water, in addition to ending the mashing process, by adding more water to the mash tun, you make it easier for the sugars in the mash to dissolve. So you do get a little bit more sugar out. And then as this recirculating business goes along, I'll keep checking it. This is actually why I have one plastic container and one clear container, because the clear container lets me monitor the sides. Makes it a lot easier to keep track of like how clear my mash is. Some home brewers have pumps just for this. But I'd rather spend my money on lumber for projects. So this is what I'm doing. And Yummy, chunky, hoppy water. Ah! Ah! This is not hoppy water at all! This is just wort. Right now, we only have malt and water. That's all this is. It's actually sweet. Doesn't taste bitter at all. Granted, I do want to turn my burner down. Just because I want to get it turned down a little. I don't need it. I don't need a lot of heat at this point. Man, I might be a little short on strike water, actually. Depending on how things turn out. We'll see, we'll see, we'll see. Ah. Like a little bit of a monitor here. I'm not really seeing much in terms of... seeing a few floaty bits. We'll just keep doing what we're... Woo! But yeah, this is definitely one of the more physical aspects of brewing beer. Definitely want to have some water right now. Okay. This out. Real easy to check for like floaties and such when you have less liquid in your measuring, because your wort's a little cloudy. A lot easier to see floaty bits. So far, I'm really liking where we're at. I'm really liking it. Oh. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this fill up just to get a little bit more like runtime through the mash. And then once I get that last little bit of runtime, I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to grab my gloves. We're going to throw the rest of the water into the mash tun. And we'll actually start, and we'll immediately go into actually getting the wort out of the mash tun and into the brew kettle, and we'll start boiling. So we'll get to that point. And I'll be able to push the mash tun more out of the field of view when we get there. Because it is really taking up a lot of the field of view right now. But it kind of has to for me to be able to access it right here. Off. Just wait for the last remaining drops. Goes back up into the mash tun. This. Turned. And then I don gloves. Glove one. Glove. Ooh. Watch out. And now we're mashing out. That position things where I like them. I still need to be able to like access. And once we get about half gallon of wort in here, I can crank up the heat and we can really start working on the boil. Once we get a good boil, we'll add our, well, once we achieve hot break, we can add our hops and go from there. So, but this is actually one of the fun like processes, because you basically get to watch a thing happen, which isn't not, which like with mashing, you don't really get to like watch stuff happen as much. Like mashing is just mashing. It's just, the thing is doing its thing. Whereas this is actually a bit more processed. Okay. I'm going to turn up the heat. Oh. Another benefit of using strike water and using strike water at like 180 degrees is we now need to get this to a boil. We need to get 5+ gallons of liquid to a boil. So we took our... Oh, don't... Oh, dude, you just do your... Dude, do your thing. Do your thing. Do your thing. Live your best life. I am just yapping. I am yapping, I'm talking, and I'm just... I am showcasing my experience in beer crafting to the world. Granted, I'm no expert. I am just a regular class individual when it comes to brewing. But hey, it's not hard to be okay at this. And then I had thoughts, and the thought train's back. So, thought train says, so we're taking our 140 degree temperature wort, where we were mashing at, and then with the 180 degree water we added, we stepped it up a little bit. We made it a little bit warmer. This allows us to slowly increase our temperatures to our boiling point. Fahrenheit is 212, Celsius 100. So by bringing it up slowly, it kind of makes it a little bit easier to step it up. It's also, so when I first started homebrewing, I would brew on an electric stove. An electric stove takes forever to heat up, like the wort, the water, all that stuff. This propane burner really puts out a lot of BTUs, a lot of heat. So much so when it starts getting summer in here, it's going to be uncomfortable for me to do these streams, but that's the side. So if you're working with something that doesn't really have a lot of heat to it, it's even more important to do what you can to step up the heat in increments. Because we listened to some good... Well, yeah. I mean, that's what we did. Granted, for the trip, I think it would be very, very fun if we could do, like, our... Like, everyone in the... Like, we can let Walton do... We can let Walton do his, like, DJ... We can let him DJ for a little bit. But I'm thinking at some point, if we're up for it, we can... Like, everyone in the car picks a song, and we'll just, like, rotate through everyone's, like, song selections. Because it's been a while since you and me have done that. I think that would be fun. Brandon, I'm also looking forward to seeing the windmills. Go look at windmills. Brandon, I do have to memorize at some point all the toll roads in Chicago, so that way I know which roads to avoid tolls. Windmills. Yeah, there's windmills once you get north of Indy. We need more of them. I mean, they're building them. It's just where we live, it's not a good idea to build them. It's a better idea to build solar panels where we're at. But up in the Great Lakes area, yeah, they can use windmills. They actually have like the sustained wind speed for like wind. Granted, I've actually seen some like there's actually some new wind turbines that are coming out that are actually meant for like home use. I might look at those if I ever end up with too much money, but I don't think I will have too much money to worry about that. So who knows, if I end up with like too much money, I might as well just buy batteries for my solar setup. But even then, that'll just allow me to stream when the power's off. But yeah, we're at 2.5 gallons of wort. As you've noticed, we have some foam. Eventually that foam's going to build up. And then the boil's actually going to break through the foam. And when the force of the boil breaks through the foam, that's when we get the hot break. That's what hot break is. That would be such a... Oh my gosh. I don't know. Do it. What, stream when the power's out? Like, rest of the neighborhood's without power, and then I'm just like sitting in my garage streaming. It's just batteries are real expensive. Granted, home battery systems are getting cheaper though. They're getting cheaper all the time, but it's gonna be a while where the cost of batteries is gonna be worth the value of the batteries. Let me think here. When I got my solar panels on my house, at the time, batteries would have doubled the cost of the installation. Whereas nowadays, I think it would be cheaper, but it will not be like significantly cheaper. Granted, I think at some point I might actually do a video on like my experience with solar panels. My experience with solar panels and electrifying my house, because I am electrifying my house. I used to have a gas furnace. I no longer have a gas furnace. I have a heat pump. It's a nice heat pump too. And at some point, probably in the next 3 months, I'm going to replace my water heater with a heat pump water heater. And then with that, once I replace that, I will have fully electrified my gas burning appliances. With technically the exception of my fireplace. But I don't use my fireplace. But one of my big home improvement plans for this year is to replace the fireplace with a wood burning insert. Problem with that is I'm going to probably have to redo the venting in the chimney, or the chimney guy's going to have to redo it. And that's going to cost a lot of money. Because I'm going to have to do it in like stainless steel venting, and stainless steel venting is very expensive. And because of certain economic policies that are happening in my country right now, steel's getting even more expensive. It'd actually be scary to think about how much one of these bad boys costs nowadays. Because I bought this back in 2017. And then I think I spent like $70 on this. But hey, I mean, I spent $70 on this, the brew kettle. And I've brewed close to 60 batches of beer in it. I think I also made my salsa in it. I made salsa last year. I think I used this. I think I did. Look at this. Oh. Yes, I did use this for the salsa. Good golly gosh, that was like one of my longest streams. That was nearly 4 hours. That was nearly 4 hours. Which, oh yeah, by the way, I've also cracked open the first jar of salsa from that batch. It's pretty good. Turned out good. Happy with it. Which, you gotta be... Which, that's like the best thing if you like do... If you make something like salsa or even beer, like make something yourself and it turns out just as good as like a commercial product that you could just buy. It makes you a little, it makes you happy on the inside. It makes me happy on the inside. Because I can be like, I made this. If society gets food barred, I can make beer. If society gets food barred, I can make salsa. Granted, I sincerely hope that society does not get food barred because I have too much money in the stock market for that. But, getting back to the beer focus, as you can see, we have ourselves an even layer of foam across the kettle. This is when we really start looking out for hot break. Because you'll notice, like in the beginning, the wort splashing down would like make like a big circle, and that circle kind of has shrunk to where it is now. This is kind of like what happens at the brew kettle as you get closer and closer to hot break. I do want to check my mash tun. Okay, so the mash tun's almost, my water level probably roundabout in here. Which is good, because I've got 4 gallons of water in here. So once I finish mashing out, I should have like a good solid like 5.5, close to 6. If I get close to 6 gallons of wort at the start of the boil, into boil, I should have like 5.25. Then by the time I pull my wort out, my cooled wort, into the fermenter, I should have like 5 gallons of wort that I will add yeast to, that will then turn it into beer. Because that's actually the legal distinction. So, this is not beer. And this is the ingredient that turns this into beer. This is the magical ingredient. And also, I am very thankful for having a good homebrew supply store where I live, because I can get dry packets of Kolsch ale yeast specifically. Like, people who don't have like a good homebrew store would have to like make Kolsch with like a standard lager yeast, which you can do that, but you're not just gonna get like the full Kolsch experience. Gotta get the full Kolsch experience. Open this up a little bit more. Bit more of a flow going there. Remainder of the wort. I'm not sure if you guys have been paying attention, but it does get like clearer and clearer. It just means we're getting more and more like sugar, all the various stuff from our malt here. What we want to get as much sugar. There's actually a lot of stuff in barley that gives like the yeast a little bit of nutrition when they're doing their thing in the wort. Because if you use, say, like a high corn or rice mash in your mash tun, you will want to have like a little bit of like barley in there to help break up, because corn, rice, they don't really have like the enzymes to break the starch into sugar like barley does. Barley just has like tons of enzymes. Barley was a plant born to be brewed into beer. But if you're wanting to make like a rye pale ale or some like other styles that don't utilize as much barley, really gotta be a little bit more careful with your mashing processes, because, well, especially if you're like trying to like create recipes, because if you just really reduce the amount of barley you're using, you're not going to get as good of a result because you lose enzymes if you cut too much barley out of your malt bill. That's why even some like rye pale ales and such, they'll have like a 50% rye malt bill, but the rest will still be barley, because you need that 50% barley to get those get the sugars out of the starches from the rye. And I need water. Oh, water. Your looks are alive. And big stretch. I was actually expecting this a bit quicker. I was thinking when I had pretty good heat going to it. Feels like I got a good heat going to it. But like another thing that will like happen is your bubbles, they'll get like finer. Go from like big bubbles to small bubbles. That's like another sign that you're getting close. I'm gonna check my thermometer. Oh yeah, we're close, we're close. This is a waiting game. It's a waiting game that I don't have a lot of waiting left to do on. I know that. I am definitely 100% sure of that. It's just I also have to watch it like a hawk. Reason I grabbed my stir stick just now is when hot break occurs, sometimes this layer of foam you see, the boil will take the foam and just push it up and out of the brew kettle, and you end up with a boil over. Ooh, okay. That's good. That's good sign. Good sign there. But yeah, as you can see, the foam is really starting to build up. And it is go time. So as you see, foam really starts to build. And this is when you really gotta stir it, because you can see here, like this is when you really gotta stir it. And also blowing on it really drops it, but really gotta stir it. You gotta really stir this, because we are come on. Want to boil over. Don't want that. Oh, there we go. Oh. But yeah, you gotta watch that stuff. At this point, this is you gotta be eagle-eyed, you gotta be on it. Because as you can see, our water levels down here, our foam, we got real close there. We got real close on that. But yeah, this is like the fun action-y part, which is also kind of concerning because it's also the part where you can't take your eyeballs off the thing. So my boil's really strong right now. So I'm gonna cut back on the propane. Because I just need enough heat to maintain the boil. I'm not trying to push it up boiling temperatures. It's usually a good idea to, once you've got a decent hot break going, cut back on the amount of fuel you're sending to your burner. So, we have navigated a great disaster. Well, we almost had a disaster, but the disaster did not occur. It's good. Eyeballs were occupied by that. I wanna... Ah, okay. Gotta get back with the guy. I wanted to just double check my adult responsibilities, which I only have adult responsibilities for a half hour. So, go ahead and get the fun going. So, these are our hot pellets. Now, when you first get your like boil going and such, just a few hops, because you add hops, it creates a bunch of nucleation sites, and it foams up like this, like it's doing right now, like that, and it's also green. So you just want to like add a couple hops and let the hops kind of just like mix in a little bit, kind of like get incorporated into like the brew. I want to let it do its thing. And once it kind of settles down like that, flash in a few more. Oh. I'll be adding a half ounce of this. It's half the packet, which I'm fairly confident I have half my packet of hops in my beer. Well, not beer, in my wort. It's wort right now. Oh. Since those hops are a little bit weak on alpha acid, I'm gonna throw some Cascade at it. Just to kind of like bump up my alpha acids a little bit. A little bit short. Just a little bit. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. But I'm gonna also have to be like monitoring things because my former roommate's coming over at some point to get more of his belongings. I don't know if he's gonna want to interrupt stream or not. So I'm just gonna have to be kind of like careful and on the lookout. Oh. But yeah. You're boiling. Doing good. So we're pretty much at like... So I want to say the boil started at 12:30. Yeah, that seems like a good time to call it. So we'll say the boil started at 12:30. So we'll call the boil done at 1:30. That'll be 1 hour. Then that'll get into a fermenter. Not my fermenter. There. I'm going to continue to let my mash tun. It's slowly adding additional wort to here. Right now, I have 5 1/4 gallon of liquid. A little bit low. Super low, but it's kind of low. So I'm just going to let this add water, wort, incrementally. Some people don't worry about it too much at this point. It's still like a drip. But I just let it run because I'm a little bit low on the amount of liquid I got. Because As you see, I've got steam coming off this. I'm going to lose volume of wort. I'm going to try and make it up for a little bit with just a slow trickle from that. Sorry about that. But yeah. Then I think, well, actually I know once this tea is done, I think I'm gonna, once the tea is done, it is afternoon, officially afternoon at my location on the rotation. So I might crack a beer. Well, I'm not gonna say might. I will crack a beer open, but I'll probably also like I'll run out, grab a beer, take a bathroom break, all that fun stuff. Yeah. So we'll actually do a little bit. Well, I'm only going to be drinking 2 beers today on. But yeah, we're taking it pretty easy with that. At some point we will be prepping yeast. We'll prep the wort chiller. We'll have a couple of things going on, but once you get your wort boil going, might throw some water at it. Might want to throw some water at this simply because how low. I want it to be a little bit higher up on volume. Actually, no, I should just. And I'm going to be real slow about adding my water. Because if I just open this and go full throttle, sending water into the brew kettle, it will actually kill the boil. Because the water temperature will drop below boiling point and then the boil will restart. Just not a... It's actually not like dangerous, but it kind of will like spook you a little bit. So since I'm adding water, I'm also going to turn up the heat. Make sure I'm getting a nice heat to it. Also, you don't have to really worry too much. There's not a whole lot to worry about as far as oxygenation at this point, because I'm just sending water into the wort. Also, another reason why one of my primary reasons for adding water now is one of the reasons why there's a couple of reasons why the boil happens and why the boil happens for as long as it does. Reason number 1 is to disinfect the wort. So basically, by boiling this for an extended period of time, we basically nuclear all the microorganisms in the kettle. That is reason 1. Reason 2 is in order for you to get like the bitter compounds out of the hops actually have to interact with boiling water for an extended period of time for those compounds to actually be soluble in water. Otherwise, if you don't boil your wort for too terribly long, just don't get you won't get a lot of the bitter compounds out, which is undesirable due to the fact if we didn't add hops or bittering compounds to the beer would actually be a very sweet tasting beverage. The remaining wort that's coming out of like the mash here is actually get a few drops. So yep, that's sweet, all right. But because these droplets are sweet, it means I'm also just getting a little bit extra sugar in here. And so far I have noticed no great changes to my boil characteristics as I'm adding this water. So even though this water is at tap temperature, it's not really affecting the boil much at all. Granted, I'm also observing that it's not significant. Well, I'm not really adding a lot right now at the rate I'm doing things. But it's not increasing very quickly, which I think is both a good and a bad thing. Part of the reason for that, as you can see, it's steaming. We're losing a lot. You do lose quite a bit of water. Typically, in my experience, I'll lose like a half gallon of volume. So just something to keep in mind, because don't want to mash out with just 5 gallons. Then you're gonna boil, and then you're gonna have 4.5 gallons. And then you're probably not going to get every last little bit of wort out of your brew kettle, so you'll be like sub 4.5 gallon. You'll probably have like 4 1/3 gallon of beer, where instead you wanted 5, which would technically make your beer maybe a little bit stronger than what you're initially speccing for. But because I mean, I've had times where I've had like 4 3/4 amount of beer in my fermenter. I think my last beer actually turned out like that, but that's close enough to my target where it's going to be fine. A lot of things, brewing is a lot like cooking. It's definitely a little bit more of a science to it, but as long as you're focusing on getting close enough, you're going to be good. You're going to be fine. Honestly, as long as you focus on getting close enough and you're good about your cleaning and your sanitizing, you're going to do fine brewing beer. For those who are interested in doing this themselves. Which I don't know how many people out there are really that interested in brewing their own beer. Mostly because seems like people are really turning away from alcoholic beverages, primarily for health reasons, which, I mean, good for those people. Which, granted, we do have non-alcoholic beer, which very nice thing. I'm glad I live in a time where we have, like, good non-alcoholic. No, I'm at 5.5. Okay. Just needed to. I needed to clean up that mark a little bit. Had a little bit too much of that foam, man. But yeah, I am at 5.5 gallons of liquid. So reasonable. So if I lose a half gallon through my boil, that will bring me down to like 5 gallons even. So we are gonna literally let this hose pee stream for a little while. Just because that's just slowly adding water at a rate where it's not killing the oil. By the hops suspended in the liquid. Everything's like turning over and like being like a bubbling cauldron. And actually, this is actually where bubbling cauldrons actually originate from, is brewing. Like everything that a lot of things that are associated with witches are all things that women in Europe would do with brewing. Like bubbling cauldron, that was beer brewing. The black cats were used to keep mice out of the malt. And then the big pointy hats actually do serve another purpose. Since women are a bit on the shorter side, and women would wear big tall hats so that when they went to market to sell beer, they would like stand out a little bit more. be a little bit easier to find the people who are selling the beer. So some bit of brief fun history of beer and such. All witches are beer brewers. Or at least a lot of the aesthetics and kind of what a witch is like all based on women who made beer. And then hops got involved so beer used to be traditionally flavored with a substance, not a substance. It was a mixture. It's called Groot. And basically what it was a mixture of herbs. And beer was traditionally a homecraft thing that the family would do. And in those days, the female head of the household, she would make beer for the family, and then extra beer that was made would be sold at market. But with hops, when hops were introduced as a bittering agent, and hops are also a preservative as well, hops play very nicely with beer. Okay, so I'm looking at roughly, I've got 5 3/4, so I'm good here. But with the introduction of hops, beer became commercialized. It was easier to, it went from being a cottage industry to big industry. And that's actually one of the reasons for the whole German purity law thing. And also this is a thing that will happen occasionally. Because what was happening is I was adding cold water. And that was hot break can kind of re-happen. This can happen if you add hops, or if you, in my case, what I've just done is add water. But yeah, the introduction of the German beer purity law thing, the Regenbeispiels, I have no ability to say German. That was some people attribute it to Germany not wanting to brew all their grains and making sure they had grain left over to brew bread. That might be partly true, but one of the subtle things about that is it was actually meant to get women out of beer brewing, because they made it using the traditional methods. They would use the traditional herb mix versus commercial brewing that was using hops as the flavoring agent. It actually meant to reduce competition from the cottage industry from the big industry. But yeah, that was kind of a thing about it that I'd prefer not to think too hard on, because it's a little on the messed up side, I think. But trying to actively kill an industry that's existed for a really long time and has been a side means for people to support themselves in favor of going to market with it. Also, another reason why I like sharing how to make stuff around. It's real fun to show people how to make things. Hey, here's how you make stuff. It's not that hard. If you're interested, feel free to give it a shot. You don't have to spend a whole bunch of money on it. You can actually make, so this is 5 gallon. A lot of beer brewing recipes here in the US are based around the 5 gallon standard. It's basically just what most people work with. You can boil 2 gallons of wort. You can do what I'm doing right now and add water at the end move you up to 5 gallons, throw your yeast in, and do things that way. That's called a concentrated wort boil. I do a full wort boil because that's just how I like to do things. To me, it seems more simple. I also have an 8-gallon brew kettle. Because from bottom to the top of the slip, that's 8 gallons. I have the room to boil full 5 gallons of wort with room for like all the hot break, the foam, all that good stuff. I can do full boils. I have the equipment. That's what I do. That's basically what my beer brewing setup is in the grand scheme of beer brewing setups. Is I'm kind of like a mid-tier. I have reasonably good equipment that I know how to use, and I can make beer. It's not bare bones minimal, because you can actually do the mashing and your boiling in the same vessel. It's a little bit harder to do it though, because by having a separate mash tun, it's a lot, because especially using a cooler like this, because the cooler is insulated and it helps like maintain a constant temperature. If you were doing it in a stainless steel vessel like this, or like any other like large cooking vessel you may have, gotta be a little bit more finicky with maintaining heat, because this is going to lose heat. So you gotta make sure you're adding heat while it's losing heat if you're going to mash in here. But it is certainly possible to do so. It's a little bit more tricky. It's a little bit more work. But yeah, this is what you see is in the spectrum of beer brewing setups. This is definitely mid-tier. This is mid-tier. This is definitely home hobbyist who's made quite a bit of beer, which is what I am. A home hobbyist who's made quite a bit of beer. But it's been a fun, neat hobby. And the downside is I am going to have to look at probably giving up this hobby at some point. Because I gotta be healthy, man. Because I'm getting older every day. Bit by bit, little by little, I get older every day. Granted, while my dad was a beer drinker, right up to the end, I'm definitely gonna probably be really backing off at some as I get further into my. I don't want to give it up quite yet, but I definitely want to get to the point where like a 6-pack gets me through the weekend. Which, if I'm being honest, I drank a 6-pack yesterday. That was like over the course of like the whole day. Okay, let's see. No, we're 20 minutes in. Got quite a bit of time. But yeah, I mean my tea's pretty much done. Now my tea's done. So we've been talking about beer. Making beer. I'm gonna go hit the bathroom. I'm gonna grab a beer. Be back. And we'll just continue talking about beer. So, I'll see you all here in a few. And we're back with Fall Homebrew. Oh, this is my Vienna lager. So it's basically like a standard lager, but it uses a lot of Vienna malts in it. The primary malt's Vienna. But unlike most lagers, we got a nice head to it, and it has a real nice, like, kind of ambery color. Not quite as, like, dark as an actual true amber ale, but yeah, it's got a nice color, a reasonably good clarity. Not the best at getting super clear beers, but it's a reasonably light, easy drinking beer, which is basically what I like. Good flavor, because that's what I like about the Vienna lagers is they use Vienna malts, which have a little bit more, kind of get a little bit more like bready, biscuity flavors versus standard two-row. Standard two-row is basically like your base malt. It is malt. That's it. Doesn't really contribute flavor very much. Versus today, what we're working with here, we got mostly Pilsner malt. So Pilsner malt, get a little bit more flavor versus two-row in terms of like characteristics from your malt. And then there's tons of other malt. Like Munich malt, really great for Oktoberfest beers. Like it for Oktoberfest. I love Oktoberfest beers. I can speak at great length of my love of Oktoberfest beer. It is one of my favorite brew styles of all time, which it was kind of like another aside in my thoughts is these are the styles of beer I like. I like Kolsch. I like golden ales. I like Vienna lager. I like pale ales. I like reasonably easy drinking beers. I don't like high ABV stuff. Ideally, I keep things like between 4 and 6%, with like a nice bit of flavor to them. You know, I want it to feel like I am drinking a beer versus getting hydration after mowing the lawn. Granted, not gonna lie, a good Sopro after mowing the lawn always hits the spot. Granted, I generally mow the lawn on weekdays, so I don't always do a lawnmower beer, but lawnmower beer is good beer. Yes. Good stuff. And this... No, I did not brew this on stream. What was the last thing I brewed on stream? Back in December. When did I brew that? I brewed this beer in January. Which, by the way, it's really good to brew like Kolsch lagers during the winter season, because then my basement's actually at like the air temperatures for fermenting these beers. Oh, I did the All Right Ready Amber. That's what I did last on stream. That was back in December. Early December. So that's pretty much, I think I've got pretty much as much work as out of my mash tun reasonably expect. I'm just going to tip it over and get what I can left out of it. That. So I am sitting at over 5.5 gallon. Roughly, well, we're 25 minutes into the... Got plenty of time. So, do this. Nice if I could pull that out. Ooh, one moment. I was looking for something that was kind of like a workstation. Oh. We're done with this. Dropping. Hot dog. Oh, come on. Yeah. I'm gonna kind of change view. This out. Because I got time. And this is also one of the nice... So, this is one of the nice things at this point. Is it's a good chance to take the time to clean out my mash tun. And for those unfamiliar with earlier, I was in pretty desperate search for a 5-gallon bucket. Because I like to clean this out during my boil. The reason I want this cleaned out is when I go to chill my wort, the first water that comes out of my wort chiller is very hot. I put that in here, my mash tun, and that's basically my hot water supply for cleanup. So that's why I try to get this emptied out when I can. And it also helps me get a little bit more use out of my water. Then I get the use of the water till my wort, plus I get the use out of my water to help clean up. Also, like, one of the things, by letting this drip and hell for so long, grains get pretty dry. Not quite as like mushy. It can get pretty mushy if you don't pull as much. Sure. But have no worries there. Also, cheers, chat. But yeah, that's another fun thing about homebrew. Have homebrew with you can have beer with the next batch of beer. It kind of gives you a bit of a like reminder for why you work. Apparently, my birds are being local wildlife are very active right now. Oh, but yeah, this is just like it's a chore that has to get done. If I can get something done with things happening, big win. Good use of my time. What I try to do. I try to be good with it. Not always good with my time. But I try. You stay 5-gallon bucket. Oh, next up is I gotta get the strainer. Strainer's gotta come out for me to be able to. That's the strainer. Stainless steel strainer. Also very hot. Everything in here is hot. Nice effects if you take your time with this. it chills down a little. Okay. Moment. That chat. Bing. Boom. Got a clean mash tun here. Clean enough. Clean enough to put some hot water in it. Take this variously placed bucket and make sure it's no longer variously placed. Our little like chore out of the way. We'll get right back to the actions. Which this is the actions. He pulled Batman again? Neat. Good for you. I don't know who Batman and Genshin is, but I would not be surprised if Genshin did not have like a Batman-like character. But yeah, it's always nice to be able to like take care of like various small chores. Okay, like little platform here. He's okay, and I did want to get him at some point. Okay, cool. Oh, good for you, buddy. But yeah, I like to just lay stuff up on my like little platform here. Kind of frees up table space. Very valuable table space. Well, not table space, workbench space. Workbench space is very much at a premium. It's always at a premium in the shop. Where stuff gets stored, getting worked on, and also like where bring your next project to and all that stuff. But yeah. Yeah, because we're past the half-hour mark on this. I am not adding any more hops until we get to 5 minutes left to boil. And I'm not going to start waking up my yeast until get down to 15 minutes of but I am eventually going to get there. Just going to get very knife, open up my yeast packet. It's always good to look at the process you're doing change. Sorry, oh, you can clearly see my garage door is cracked open, and I actually have my fire pit's actually still running outside. I have like large pieces of oak I want to burn up, and I threw it on last night, wanting it to burn overnight. We did get rain last night. Another reason why I was letting the fire pit burn overnight, which means I don't have to really worry about it getting out of control. Granted, it's also surrounded by concrete and such, but yeah, it's out there doing its thing. And I did throw a couple more pieces of wood on beginning, but for some reason, all of a sudden, there's a bunch of ash floating around in my air right now. Great. My life is turning into the movie Volcano. Which, personally, I liked that movie as a kid. That was probably, like, Like Volcano was like probably my favorite disaster movie as a kid, from like the from the 90s. Yeah, that was just weird. That was weird, and it was distracting. This thing. Oh, and then it's like, yeah, okay. I see now. I see what's going on. So. Brandon, I am glad we're getting pretty far along in the process, because yeah, I am getting hungry. Good, because I got a lot of leftovers from the Gyudon stream that I did yesterday. So I'm going to be really looking forward to some of those leftovers after this stream. But we've probably still got roughly an hour left, because I've got nearly a half hour in this. No, I've got less than a half hour in this. I got less than a half hour in boil time. And then we gotta chill it. And then I gotta get it moved into a fermenter. And then it can do its stuff from there. Which, I actually need to grab it. I actually gotta grab two things. One moment. One I grabbed. Airlock. So this goes on lid for the fermenter, and you fill it with sanitizing solution, and basically it lets carbon dioxide out that the yeast make during fermenting, but it keeps like air from getting back in, because you can get contaminated beer that way. That's what this is. Item number 2. And I have just a little bit of it left. Just a little bit enough to... I'll probably go ahead and use it. This is Irish moss. And this is a thing you can add during this stage. Typically in the last 15 minutes, so... Which actually 15 minutes is gonna... Ooh, okay, so we're actually getting close. Okay. Excuse me a moment. Here is my wort chiller. As you can see, it has kind of a bit of a patina on it. I am going to take this, put it in my fermenter. Got my sanitizing solution, and I'll use the sanitizing solution to basically rinse that off. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I try to get the sanitizing solution prepared before we get to this point, because last 15 minutes of the boil, this is kind of like when like things happen. Because in the last 15 minutes, wort chiller goes in. It's the wort chiller, not fully sanitized. So you throw it in the last 15 minutes, boil, and that basically sanitizes it. It's good. There's that. We're going to eventually prep the yeast. I think I'll actually prep the yeast at the end of the boil. Do that then. We have a hop addition to do in the last 5 minutes. Oh. A lot of it is where we went from the beginning. Now is... like, you do a thing, you wait a long while. You do a thing, you wait a long while. Then as you get closer and closer, and that's when you get more, you gotta do a thing now. You gotta do a thing now. You gotta do a thing now. So it gets a little bit more active. Get closer to the end of the boil, because there's usually, depending on the style, Sometimes you'll do hop additions at 15, 10, 5 minutes, end of boil, so on and so forth. There's variability there. Oh, but this is a Kolsch. Uses a very minimal amount of hops. Doesn't take much. Not a lot of activity as far as hops. But we do have like other things we need to worry about. We need to make sure we get the wort chiller in at the right time. Sanitized. Eventually the wort chiller is going to get hooked up to the hose. So we hit into boil. Burner gets off. We'll get the wort chiller going. Start rehydrating yeast, which I've yapped about the process. Well, I've mentioned the process of rehydrating yeast. What is it exactly? So, this water has, honestly, this feels very room temperature-ish right now. Earlier, it was not room temperature at all. So, what I'm going to do with this water is I'm going to be adding our yeast to it. And what that's going to do is, so this is a sealed packet of dry yeast. Yeast that has basically been told, hey, you're going to sleep for a very long time. That keeps it fresh for a very long time. Until a person like me comes along and is like, I want to make beer. Give me that yeast. And I take it and I now have, I buy it and now I have yeast. But when you're working with dry yeast, it's always a good idea. Rehydrate it. And what I mean by that is you have some sanitized water. Water that you had at a boil, you brought back down. And then you're going to add your yeast to it. What it is, by throwing the yeast in some water, the yeast can rehydrate. Basically what you're doing for the sleeping yeast is you're giving them a morning routine. So, and here, the yeast is going to work. This is where the yeast's job's at. But before you don't want to send sleeping yeast straight into the job. That's very stressful. Imagine being ejected out of your bed straight into your workplace. Very stressful. No, you don't want to do that. Rehydrating yeast is, take the yeast, you put it in your sanitized water, and then you just let it sit for a little while. And what it does is the yeast soak up the water, and they basically, it's kind of like getting a glass of water in the morning. It kind of makes you feel a little bit better. You can kind of like wake up a little bit, and it's kind of like a bit of a breakfast. He slowly ramps up versus just getting like dumped into the workplace. So that's why it's a good idea to always rehydrate your yeast. Also, I really need to work on the remaining fluid in this bottle, which is also full of yeast, by the way. Which you can actually brew beer with the yeast sediment from a past batch. You can do that. I haven't done it because the thing is, so this beer was made with a lager yeast, which I think is Safralay's version 4? No, it's 34/70. It's 34/70. This is variety A97. Since I'm using kind of a, I mean, honestly, this is Kolsch yeast. I'm going to call it specialty yeast. I'm using a specialty yeast. I can't be using lager yeast from the bottom of a bottle, but I have saved yeast from previous batches of beer, primarily from my fermenter, to kickstart the next batch. Is a thing you can do, and is a thing that works in a pinch. Now, we've got hit our 15-minute mark. I gotta grab a wort. There's our wort chiller. A lot more shiny, isn't it? There's a lot less of those copper oxides. And that's the reason why I throw it in the sanitizing solution before it goes into here. Trying to get those copper oxides off. Hit my wort with the Irish moss. Purpose of the Irish moss. I don't think I said this. But yeah, it's funny. It even says on the directions, last 15 minutes of boil. What Irish moss does is it basically is a coagulating agent. What it does is all the various floaty bits you have going into your beer, it basically helps bring them all together and helps settle them out of the beer. It helps clarify your beer. It is the long story short. Long story short, it clarifies your beer. That's what it does. So it helps you have a little bit more of a clear beer, keeps a little bit more of like floaty bits and any other like contaminants out. Not something you have to do, but it's cheap and it helps, so it's a thing I do. There are brews that will actually call for it. There are recipes that will call for it, which is why I have it. And then since I have it, I just use a little bit on other brews. Even though I really don't need to. I don't need to do so with this Kolsch. I feel very confident in my mashing procedures to keep floaty bits and like other debris out of my wort. But hey, you know what? I already have it. Also, I've also had this for a while. Because this is actually the only bit of Irish moss I've ever bought. So the only bit of Irish moss I've ever bought, so I have it. Might as well use it. That sort of thing. Don't think it will always be necessary, but it is also another... It's basically another tool in a brewer's toolkit to get the results they want. It is kind of like the long and short of it. So, just had a sip of water. Water is very important, especially when you're consuming beverage. Water with beverage is always the number one way to have a good relationship with your beverage. Otherwise, you end up having problems, and no one wants to have problems. It is, how I like to say, it leads to undesired outcomes. Like, it's good to enjoy the beer. Maybe if you're getting ambitious, feel a little bit inebriated, and then it's like, okay, cool, hydrate, eat some food, get sobered up, and then eventually go to bed and just wake up the next morning being like, hello, morning. I am here to punch your face in. Punch the morning's face in. Or at least that's kind of my attitude. I wanna wake up in the morning, I wanna punch the morning's face. Have the best day possible, basically. Oy, oy. But yeah, I really like the color though. Doesn't really show, but like this is definitely gonna be a real nice Kolsch. Granted, if it does seem a little bit on the dark side, I did use red wheat versus white wheat, so Might get it will be a little bit darker, but that should just be a color difference thing. Should be perfectly fine. Damn local craft brewers buying out all the white wheat from my homebrew store. But I mean, that's also just like a really good mark of a homebrew store, is like they have, like, if a craft brewery runs out of stuff, they go to the homebrew store because the homebrew store's got it. Which I'm really proud of my homebrew store. They've been a good store. Gosh, I have been a patron of that store for 8 years. And man, the guy who runs it, he's great. The staff that work for him, they're all great. Granted, one of the staff is actually his dad. But yeah, it is truly a nice thing to have a resource like that. Because honestly, if I had to buy ingredients from here and there and get stuff shipped in, it would definitely put a damper on my homebrewing, because it would be less fun. But I have access to a well-stocked shop for the most. This whole conversation got started because of they were out of stock on the thing. But hey, they can't help it if a person like, hey, we want to buy like 50 pounds of white wheat malt. Okay. And I wonder if they sell it to a big brewery for more than what I buy it. I don't know if they would even cut like a discount. I don't know. But ooh, that's another thing. My homebrew store has not raised their prices on their stuff since I've started shopping there. And that's really a thing. I'm like, with the price increases that have been like in other places in like the economy and such, especially over like the past like 5 years now, the fact that I can still get grain malt, I can still get malt for $2 a pound is just like mind blowing to me. Granted, it's actually we actually have a homebrew club at my location on the rotation, and they actually will do bulk malt buys, where basically like the whole club will come together and they'll buy a bunch of malt. And when you do the malt buys through the club, you can get malt for like $1 a pound if you go that route. The thing is, I am a home hobbyist who brews like 8 times a year. I don't need that. I don't, because the thing is, you have to buy malt by like, it's either the 60 or 50 pound bag. Even if it's like 60 or 50 pounds of 2-row, something I use a lot of, I'd rather pay premium to buy malt and just have it and don't have to worry about it. Which, fun fact about malt actually has to get milled before you use it. In my homebrew store, they have a miller in the shop, well, the store. So I can just select out all my malts, I mill them, they go into the plastic bag that you saw from earlier, and it comes home with me with my other beer brewing ingredients, and I'm ready to go. So, versus if I bought like big bags of malt, I would actually have to mill it myself, and that involves buying a miller, and that's a whole other expense. So as a home hobbyist who likes to just brew on an occasion, I have a really great resource. And it's having resources like that what really makes this hobby is genuinely possible because of how good of a resource they are. I'm very proud of my local homebrew store. Okay. Enough. Enough being sappy. We've got 5 minutes left in this boil. Keep throwing all those hops at it. Probably gonna, and the boil's gonna do things. I have a little bit left of my Simcoe here. Well, actually, it's not Cascade. So I got just a little bit left of the Cascade. So we'll just get this used up. Falling, it's in the trash can. I don't have to worry about it. I'm not gonna trash can this though. Seems like a nice small container for. Yeah, I forgot to do that. So, my on-call time ended at 1. It's 1:31. So, I am no longer under the guise of my adult responsibilities. So, I am free for the rest of the day. So, I don't have to worry about anything weird happening. Which I'm thankful for that. Because I was being a little risky with doing this. Support local business. Support local business or I'll find you. Hey, leave my viewers alone, man. I like my local businesses. I like yap about how great they are. Past that. Hey man, I hate to break it to you, but I am also a big fan of Costco. Which I'm also getting this garage door replaced by Costco. Actually, next time I do a beer brewing stream, that garage door is not going to be there. That, that little like doggy door, which is the brown thing you see like in the far corner up there. That's going away. That is also, historically, if I screw up, do this, can I do this? Eventually, if this guy screws up and locks himself out of his house, that's my entrance into my house. Granted, I know my backup solution. I know what my backup solution. My backup solution is literally gonna be unlocking one of my windows. That's gonna be great because that window is over my stairwell to my basement. So if like an intruder tries to break into my house through that window, they don't know that that's there. It's basically a pitfall trap, built-in pitfall trap. But I know this guy knows that pitfall trap's there, so I can do stuff about that. By do stuff about that, I mean just watch my step when I go through the window. Yeah. We do not have much left in terms of boil. We're really close to being done with it. Time to get excited. But yeah, also like another reason why I was being a little, well, one of the reasons I was wanting to be a little bit risky about today was I have a trip coming up and I wanted to put a little bit of effort into like doing some streams before I go on my trip. So, yeah. Feed the algorithm. Maybe. I don't know. I don't. I'm a hobbyist brewer. I'm a hobbyist VTuber. I just do these things because they're fun. Because I am a weirdo. But I would like to think maybe a fun weirdo? I don't know. water, sip of beer. So, this has been boiling for 1 full hour. Cut off our source. My outfeed. My infeed from filler. It goes on this fitting. Bum bum ba bum. Do do do. I do. Feel slow flow. A little bit of water. Not a lot of water. Just a little bit. I like to do slow rates through the wort chiller. Just lets the water have more contact time with like the wort. Do its thing for good. Continue to do that. Continue to do that. So I'm gonna bring this in just a little bit more. I don't know. This is fun. So grab this. Grab my. Woo! Packet of whole yeast. Specifically cold yeast. Open this up. We're gonna start rehydrating the yeast. That's gonna do its thing. Oh. Up. See, the yeast is kind of like a dry powdery type thing. So as we let it sit in here, as you can see, yeast is kind of falling out water. What that's going to do is, that's basically going to let the yeast wake up. Is what it's going to do. We're going to slowly wake up. Woo! Oh, it's outfeed hose. Wort chiller. It is almost too hot to touch. Almost too hot to touch. Oh, but that means the wort chiller's doing its job here. Oh, this is the part. Admittedly, is my most disliked part. Because when I'm mashing, I can go do something else. I don't have to watch it. I have to watch this. This part of the process, this actually takes a little while. I usually spend about 20-25 minutes on this part. Because I have to take this wort from boiling hot and bring it down to like at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So I have to pull a lot of heat out of this and gotta send that heat somewhere else. So yeah, this is like the most weighty around part there, in my opinion. Granted, I should grab my fermenter. Here. But yeah, we're pretty much, this is getting close to the end. Getting close to being able to wrap all this up. But yeah, brewing beer is easy. Because you've got the patience for it. While I do think I have the patience for it, I don't know if I necessarily have the patience to make this like super entertaining. So it is what it is. But hey, hanging out. This is a sacrifice to the content algorithm, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a good content creator. Granted, I am hoping this finishes up reasonably quick, because I do have Rumi coming over. Hush now. Exactly. I am fine. Not great though. Thing is, if I'm doing the thing, I want to be good, man. I want to like entertain people and such, or at least have like a good little community of people who are just like, yeah, doing hobbies. Which, like, yesterday was fine. Yesterday was pretty good. I had a recipe shared with me in chat yesterday. I'm always down for chat sharing recipes. Granted, my recipe backlog for the campfire cooking streams is starting to build up, and be yourself and people will come. There's a bit more to that, I feel like. But generally, for the most part, that is like that is the starting line. I mean, the people I have gotten, they've been people looking for a silly guy like me. And I've had some really nice people come into chat and say nice things about the stuff I'm doing. And I'm deeply humbled by their work. Very appreciative. I am very glad that I've decided to do this. Even though there's definitely, I'm like, why did I just? I've definitely had my times where I'm, man, why did I decide to do this? Yeah. Also, by the way, we were at 5 gallons even in the brew kettle. And I did. Yep. I throttled it a lot. And it's at the point where it's like near boiling hot coming in. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun doing it. You know what? There's going to be a lot more fun in the future. There's going to be more projects. Oh my gosh, the more projects. Granted, it's actually funny. There was one part. There's been a couple of times where I'm like, man, I'm probably going to run out of ideas at some point. And then I've got my next 2 weeks of streams planned out, which honestly, over the next 2 weeks, it's only going to be 3 streams. But I'm also now dealing with a reasonably, I actually have a pretty good like recipe backlog for the campfire cooking stuff, so I am very happy with that. So it's, like I say, life's good. Like scariest thing that can happen when you're a content creator is like running out of ideas. And I am by no means worried. I might get low on woodworking project, but we'll see about that. Seeing about that. Yeah, I like how we're starting to get a little bit more steam out of the mash tun versus the brew kettle. Has a little bit more action here and here. Granted, I'll probably take it away once we get to the point where we're actually mashing out, because mashing out, well, once we were actually putting this in the fermenter container, not the mash tun, that container. This liquid used to be in this container, but this container is just going to hold the basically cleaning water. It is a great container for hot water. What I'm generating right now. Look at all that steam. Granted, just trying to fine-tune my flow. Now flowing a little bit faster. My temperature drop on my wort wasn't as great as I was expecting. Just sped up my water flow. Granted, eventually, what's going to happen is I'm going to be doing this a lot. The whole me spin chiller. That's how I stir the wort once I have the wort chiller in it. And that's how I try to really bring the temperature. Because the thing with killing your wort is it takes a while. Well, it moves quickly at the beginning. Like, blues getting down to like 150 happens quickly. I think we're past that. Yeah, because this is now down to like 140. But we're now seeing closer to the temperatures we were mashing at. Problem is we have yeast. These happy little guys. These little guys, they don't like 140. 140 is enough to kill these guys. We don't want that. Dead yeast is the last thing we want. We gotta get this down to like happy yeast temperature. Which, to not kill yeast, you ideally want to get like below 105. That's actually a thing I will... Because a lot of recipes call for chilling the wort down to like 80, 70 degrees. I rarely do that because it takes so long. What I'm doing, because of the length of time it takes, like I'm willing to spend like 20 minutes to a half hour on this, but I'm not willing to spend like the better part of it. Because the thing is, you do have to chill this quickly. Because once you get closer to those like cooler temperatures, that makes it possible like airborne bacteria and other baddies to get into here, start doing their thing. Don't want at all. You just want to introduce yeast, have the yeast do their job. Usually once I get to about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, I'll just call off the chilling of the wort. And then I'll just go ahead and pull it out. Because my basement right now is like 64 degrees. So I'll take that like 90 degree stuff, take it out into the basement. I also have ice blocks. I'll probably like set an ice block with it. That allows because at 90 degrees, the yeast can work. They can be happy. Because honestly, I don't think this is at the ideal temperature. yeast packet here tells me. So, Kolsch yeast likes 15 to 20 degrees centigrade, which in Fahrenheit units is like 59 to 68. So, with my basement being like 64, my basement's like perfect. Chilling. Well, it's perfect for fermenting Kolsch. Air temperature. I gave this a bit of a stir, and as you can see, I get a little bit of steam going. Not too ideal. Don't want a whole lot of steam here. But we are getting cool. Because, yeah, now we're approaching like 120. So, thing is, we've lost nearly 100 degrees so far in terms of temperature. But we need to take this further. It needs to go. We gotta go another 30 degrees, and here's the thing. The next 30 degrees are the hardest 30 degrees. But this is just where patience comes in. And I have said it multiple times today, throughout the stream. Patience is very important when it comes to brewing beer. Speaking of that, I'm going to finish this off. Cheers. Oh, okay, big stretch. Big stretch. Almost kind of makes me wish YouTube had like redeems like Twitter. Because if that was the case, I would totally have like a stretch redeem. I would have stretch, hydrate. Not sure what else. Actually, it would be real funny for like woodworking projects. Have like a screw drop redeem where it is, if the redeem gets redeemed, I have to drop the screw I'm holding. If I'm holding a screw. Oh gosh, that'd mess. But that's the point of that would be the, like that's what kind of what makes it a little bit more funner. Yeah, we're gonna be doing a lot of stir. Oh, hey. I was like, man, I should have my stir stick in my fermenter. I already did that. Good job, me. Apparently, I'm about being a bit of a bus. And at some point, I like to do these. Swirl. Or you just want to, like, incorporate into the rest of the liquid. Reasonably warm liquid. Now, spend it in solution. It can do what it needs to do. Well, they can do what they need to do. I mean, yeast are single-cell organisms that reproduce asexual. Pretty sure they go by they. I don't know. I'm at the point where I'm just here. I'm here. I'm waiting. Actually, if I was like not being live, this would actually be the point where I'd like start like kind of cleaning up. I kind of like start putting stuff up. Like I'll put lighter up, all that stuff. I can put star scene I could put up, and just start like doing a general clean. Like I kind of monitored this. Don't want this to overflow. Past that, I really don't have to do a lot. As far as like watching this. But yeah, it's been 20 minutes since the end of boil. Those 20 minutes we're now down to 110. And this is kind of the reason why I only 25-30 minutes on wort chilling. Because I just needed to get it cold enough to the point where if I put yeast into this, add this to this, I don't kill yeast. Granted, that water is still very warm. That is warm water. Good. This being warm, this has lost heat. This is also where frequent stirring comes in, because the frequent stirring keeps... So the copper on the wort chiller, it's cold. You want to keep introducing warm. Right now we're kind of getting to warmish territory, and you want to just kind of like constantly have that wort interacting with that cold copper coil, drop the temperature. So yeah. Okay. Eventually we'll eventually. And I need to grab this piece of PVC. I have a reason. This is getting pretty full up. It's a little. I can see part of it. You don't see all of it. That's actually that's my water drain to the outside. Kind of how this setup works. Yeah. So this is now starting to get steamy. This a lot less so. Actually, reasonably cool to the touch. Good. Actually, wait a second. Now it feels kind of warm. Because if a surface feels cool to the touch, surface is less than the temperature of your hand. Whereas if it's warmer, then that means there's heat flowing out of the thing into your hand. Once this gets to the point where it's cooler my hand, then we're getting like really close. Give this one stir, then we're going to take our drain hose and put it to our outside drain and out into the driveway. That way it's not hanging around here. That concludes that water. We are now below 100 degrees here. So we've actually reached a point where it's cooler than, well, it's cooler than body temperature. But more importantly, we are now starting to enter into the range where we will not kill the yeast if we add yeast to this, which is the important thing. Granted, one of the downsides is we're now at the point where we could have, it's possible to get like contamination and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that we don't spend too much time at this spot. Which, if I'm being perfectly honest, at 205, I'm going to call this, regardless of what my temperature is. Oh, I know I'm going to be cool enough where it's not going to affect my yeast. But yeah, we'll give this, basically going to give this 4 more minutes. Stop chilling. This will get moved off to the side. The fermenter is going to get stirred up. Some of the... I will preserve some of the sanitizing solution. Vessel will help me top off my airlock. A couple various things like that. And we'll be wrapping up. We'll pull the wort out of here, fermenter, send our yeast at it, and get all that locked up. It'll be done. Day stream will be done. I remember when I was working with an electric stove for heating my wort, and like this would be like a nearly 5-hour process. Nearly 5-hour process. Whereas nowadays, I can knock this out in less than 4 hours. Which is real nice for me. It's definitely worth the price of propane to be able to do what I need to do, get done what I need to get done, and just knock this stuff out. Makes me happy. Makes me very happy. Because I don't like standing over a boiling hot kettle of wort forever. I also just don't want to spend all day on this. I'm sure there's other fun things to get into today. And there's also things I can mention, but if I utter the words, things that I don't want to happen will happen. I can't let that happen. Hydration. Great. Okay. Hey, stir. Woo! Hot diggity dog. So, we are now right at 90 degrees with this. So, decision, give it 25 minutes. Did I give it 25 minutes or a half hour? I think I gave it a half hour. But hey, half hour. Call it. We'll turn the wort chiller off. Wort chiller is actually going to go into here to get clean. Well, kind of cleaned. It's just got like a little wort and stuff on it. We're going to then we'll actually start we'll actually get to the part where beer technically happens. Beer happens when the substance in this container meets the substance in this container. Legally, that's when beer happens. Even though beer is more of a process than that. It is a process that takes hours, days, weeks even. But for legal purposes, beer happens when yeast meets wort. chiller out. With some good shakes. Let's get the remainder of that wort off. Goes into the vessel. That vessel goes off to the side. The fermenter comes up. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to give this a real big stir. I want to generate a lot of bubbles. I want to generate a lot of agitation. The purpose for this is so that way I can get a nice good foam. More foam sanitizes more up the sides of the container. So I create a more sanitized environment. Game plan with also really want to sanitize this. For what I call my wort swirl. Basically what I do there just now, give it a really big spin. I take all that hop residue I had in there. I want to focus it towards the center. It helps me get the hop residue out of it. And sanitize. Now we won't. Remember the thing I was doing, and I'm not gonna do today. And then just good measure, gives a good swirl. Just to get all those sides as sanitized as possible. Why I don't fill this up. That's why I don't fill it up all the way. Because I have to dump. Out the fermenter. Oh. I now have an empty, sanitized fermenter that I'm now going to add my wort to. So, what I'm doing here, this serves a purpose. Purpose is air. Specifically, getting oxygen out of the air into the wort. Because one of the issues with yeast, you need oxygen to multiply. I am now doing this to expose as much of my chilled wort air so that way it can get oxygen dissolved into the wort. That way when I throw my yeast in, I will have plenty of oxygen into my wort. If it seems like I'm at an awkward angle right now, it's because I am. But this is just part of the fun of doing this. But yeah, we're getting real close to the finish line. And then you'll see like the little like dribble, it starts to go further. You can just open it a little bit more. But yeah, this is kind of like the method I use to get the most air exposure to my wort before it's like in the fermenter and just doing its thing. But yeah, we've already got like more than 2 gallons in here. Yeah. Basically. So, I'm down to I've got less than 2 gallons of wort left in the kettle. Give my yeast one last quick little swirl. And then they go into their home. But yeah. Let this finish draining out. Once it finishes, there's a lid behind me I have to grab. Hard. I'll put the lid on. That looks like... Can't really see the color very well. Camera's too far back, but really liking that color. I think I'm going to be really happy with how well this turned. And I think I'm also going to get like a pretty good amount of beer out of it. Like I'm going to be real close to my 5-gallon mark. I think I'm going to be a little bit low. But hey, if I get like 4 3/4 gallons of Kolsch, that's 4 3 gallons of Kolsch. So the level of the liquid in the kettle now below the outlet on my spigot down there. Tip it. So watch the stream. Once I start seeing a whole bunch of hop debris in my stream, I'm gonna let go of the kettle. And when the kettle gets let go, it'll drop back. And then that will be like... That'll be my sign that I got left my hop debris kettle. But I do want to kind of... all that green sludge, that's all hops. Big reason why I do the big swirl at the end. A lot of different stuff like that. Irish moss, a lot of that stuff keeps sludge down in there. This is also kind of one of the reasons why you don't always get like the full boil or wort. This is always why you boil a little. My airlock is here. Handles on this side. Handles there. Pull the handle up, we'll hit the airlock. Your handle will be on the opposite side of your airlock. I grab my airlock. Self a nice measure sanitizing. You always want to put the main body of the airlock on before you put this on. Because if you push the airlock onto the lid with this in, it will push a lot of air out, and sometimes it will actually pull back some of the sanitizing solution into your beer. Don't want that. Also, this is beer, by the way. Legally, it's beer now. And with the addition, the airlock slid. This is what a brew day looks like. I don't showcase the cleanup part because the cleanup part's a lot of work, especially running around type work. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much to everyone who tuned in today. I hope you had a reasonably good time. I hope if you didn't know anything about brewing beer before today's stream, I hope you learned something. I'm a little bit sorry that I didn't have as much like facts about Kolsch brewing or like Kolsch culture. The beer culture that surrounds Kolsch as a style is really interesting. But yeah. So with all that, this is Sugi Yamagawa. Thank you very much for tuning in. And whether it is morning, afternoon, night, whatever it is, wherever you are. And hope you have a good rest of your day. And you, good guy Travis, you have a good rest of your day. Thank you for stopping in. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.